Welcome everybody to the Data Science Hangout. If you're joining for the first time, it is so nice to meet you. I'm Rachel. The Data Science Hangout is an open space for the whole data science community to connect and chat about data science leadership, questions you're facing, and what's going on in the world of data science. So these sessions are recorded and shared to the RStudio YouTube, as well as the RStudio Data Science Hangout site. We try to get them up at least a week after each session, so you can always go back and rewatch or find helpful resources. We also have a LinkedIn group for the Hangout too, so if you ever want to continue a certain discussion, or if anybody wants to talk to each other in there, other than me just talking in there, please feel free to join that group, and Tyler or Hannah will share it in a second in the chat. Together, we're all dedicated to creating a welcoming environment for everybody here. So we love when everyone can participate and we can hear from everybody. So there's 3 ways that you can ask questions today. You can jump in by raising your hand on Zoom. You can put questions in the Zoom chat, and feel free to put a little star next to it if you want me to read it, or I can call on you to introduce yourself and add some context too. Lastly, we also have a Slido link where you can ask questions anonymously, and Hannah will share that in the chat as well. I just want to reiterate before we get started that we love to hear from everybody, no matter your level of experience or area of work too. And today I am so excited to be joined by my co-host for the day, Mythili Krishnaraj, Global Delivery Lead, Pricing and Analytics Platform at AXA XL. And Mythili, I would love to have you just start by introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about your role, the company, and maybe also something you like to do in your free time outside of work.
Sure. Thank you, Rachel. That's quite a warm welcome. And it's nice to be here because being, a customer on the other side of our studio, and I keep telling this to everyone that it's become a product which I started loving so much. So I'm glad to be in the Data Science Hangout today. And I'm Mythili Krishnaraj. I'm part of Global Delivery Lead for AXA XL for Pricing and Analytics Platform. I've been in the industry for more than 20 years in terms of insurance and technology, have played different roles in terms of data and technology. Today, I'm here to share some of the experience with our studio we had over the 2 years in terms of the maturity of the platform within the organization. And free time, yes, I am a busy mom with 2 kids, but my older one is 16 and the younger one is 9 now. So I'm getting lot more time, I can say. I started my executive MBA in March this year, so pretty busy with all that, but I love reading. And I love also like some artwork like glass art or crochet or sewing. So that's what about me. And I'm so happy to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you. So while we wait for questions to come in from everybody, I'm curious, what's something that you're really excited about thinking about the data science team in the next year ahead?
Okay, so it's a very exciting year for us because when I was talking about our studio, it's been on-premise servers for almost from 2018. I joined this team 2 years back, taking the management of completely the platform. But it's been on-prem, and we are in the process of migrating everything to cloud. We started the work this year, and this is going to be one of our strategic platform for the pricing and analytics world. So I wanted to see the product getting evolved. And again, that's going to be a completely different experience in terms of, again, bringing the maturity. And also, always the operational cost comes for discussion whenever we do such migrations and getting the platform there. So I'm really looking forward for that.
That's great. To be able to put us all in kind of your team's mindset, would you be able to give us an example of some of the work that your team's doing?
Sure. So when I said, I mean, delivery, global delivery lead pricing analytics means like platform means a lot for different organizations. Let me put it in, in a easier box. The platform lead comes with responsibilities in terms of security, because AXA XL being, one of the global players, and also insurance and commercial space. It's very much data privacy, GDPR, and all the other security regulatory is quite hard for us. We have to be very, very careful with the data we handle, and also with all the integrations of different systems. So my role is to ensure that I'm aligning to all the security policies that is put forward by information security, as well as it also comes with operational work, like all the data analytics work and all the data science work, pricing work, because we use our studio also for pricing. Because in insurance, if you see, we have pricing as one of the important functionality of underwriting. So we use it for that as well. So we have to ensure that the platform is stable. And there is one property model we have for pricing, which I can say that 24/7 it should be up running. So that is, again, it comes under my responsibility. And apart from that, definitely the budgets, right? So anything you run in terms of platform, it's not that you have huge investment to do. So with the budgets, like given budgets, and also considering what is coming in terms of expansion from different users, I have to ensure that everything goes by line. So that's quite, in a summary. And along with that, it comes all the other responsibilities that's tied to it.
Thank you. That's really helpful. I see Alice just started us off with some questions in the chat. And Alice mentioned she can't unmute right now, so I'm going to read the question for her. But it's, hi, I'm curious, what were the key factors that led you to want to migrate to the cloud? And how many data folks do you have in the organization?
Okay, so the main reason why we are moving to cloud is not only for this particular platform. It's the whole decision of the corporate, taken by AXA and then AXA XL. By 2023, we wanted all the data centers to be gone, and we went with private cloud, and now it's more of hybrid, choosing private and public. It's the decision of moving to cloud is, again, different reasons. One is the operational cost, definitely, because if you see, we had, so when I say AXA XL, we are part of XL Group, and XL Group acquired Catlin. Then we were again, acquired by AXA. So we have, like, say, 3 integrations gone into this whole of this acquisition. And because of that, the technology stack is huge, and we are trying to streamline everything. And in terms of the cost also, we wanted to say that, okay, move it to cloud. And cloud is also, way of looking into saying, by demand you put on the infrastructure rather than just giving the maximum. So that is the thought process behind. But I will also, yes, agree to a point that cloud could be pricey. It could come up with its own, different way of configuring it. And but since we know how much we have spent all these years in terms of on-prem, we have something like on comparative basis, and we'll try to be within that. But I can't promise saying that definitely it's going to be cheaper than the on-prem.
Thank you. I had a question as well. I know we get to talk about this a little bit, and we
Yes.
talked a few weeks ago about it, but I know you did a lot around the governance and security of the platform. And I would love to just hear what your experience has been like going through that process, because I know there's a lot of people who might be listening in who are just starting off with that in their own organizations.
Sure. So, it's quite, I'm going to be talking about this, I think, throughout my career, because this is something which I have really enjoyed doing it. So the platform, when I started managing it 2 years back, it was, all managed by the business users. So there was a bit of, hidden detail, I can say, like a black box. We don't know what was the models that was sitting there. Also, we don't know who were the users, because it was being expanded to different departments within the organization. It started like a POC, and I think it started expanding to different business units, because they saw the benefits that was coming out of it. And then it was also picked up by one of the biggest property model pricing. So So it had its own, visibility in terms of, oh, we can do some in this platform, all these things. And for the users who have been on Excel sheet for some time, you're giving a platform which comes with its own benefits. They will love to use it. So that's how it started onboarding. There was very, very thin line of support already there. When I say support, that was in terms of making sure the servers doesn't go down, and also onboarding the new users. So that was the minimal thing I saw when I entered this unit. And then I have to take the maturity as my priority, because as I said earlier, the operational cost is something, as a delivery lead, I have to make sure that we are within that, and also security, because tech debt and security became priority after AXA acquisition for us. So with all this as my main objectives, I said, without even knowing what is there inside the black box, it will be very difficult. So we started with the journey of the maturity, what I was talking about. It was due diligence that first I wanted to do in terms of understanding what has gone in the system, and also how to bring the stabilization of the platform, because we also had complaints that it was mainly for the property pricing. The platform was coming down, and they were not knowing the reason what was happening. Is it with the servers? Is it with the network? Is it with the application? So that's where I think our studio team also really helped us, and Kevin Hayden is here. So he was so helpful. He got the engineers and we did a complete architecture review. So due diligence was going on one side, the inventory. I will also tell how I did the inventory, because that might be useful for many of them here. So it's a huge organization, different departments. I don't know anyone in person as well. So what we did was, and they're all spread across the global region. So what we said was, okay, let's start doing a questionnaire. So it was a simple questionnaire prepared with, a lot more questions for us to first understand who are you, what are you doing here, and what is your pipeline, and how many, models you have, what is your data sources, and that was the type of the questions. And we sent it out. We collected all the information, which was very, very helpful for us to say that, okay, this is what the platform is getting used for. And then one by one, we need to come out with the plan of, we call that as application currency, because we also quantify that whatever changes you bring into the platform. So we started with those projects to get to the maturity level, and there were quite a lot that has been done over the 2 years, and still I'm saying that we are still in progress. I won't say it's closed, because for a platform like this, where we have in number of users, we can talk about IDE users, we have around 200 to 250 users, and in terms of connect viewers, we have around 1250. So for such a platform, it never goes. There is still work it's going.
Did you learn a lot more about the team through that survey? I think that's a great idea of surveying the users, see how they're actually using it.
Yes, definitely, because I want to hear both, the positive and the negative side, like what were they getting from technology, because I belong to technology. So I want to understand. One thing I'm very much, I can say that that's something I keep it as, one of my main objectives also. Business users are doing something in a platform means that they are already, creating some business value. It's all coming back. So I'm keen to help the business community, but at the same time, being from technology, I need to ensure, the technology guidelines are also followed. So I think that particular survey helped us to think what are the challenges they are seeing from technology, and also to understand, what they want us to do going forward in terms of their pipeline. And also certain things like how are they connecting to data sources, and so it was both. It's a very, very insightful, I think, answers which we got.
I'm so excited to have you here today to be able to provide that like IT and technology background and your perspective, because I know a lot of times there's questions on here about working with IT for the first time. And as a data
Yes.
scientist, how do you like build relationships with IT? And I see somebody asked anonymously, what's the relationship between data scientists and IT or platform team like at your company?
I will say very, very collaborative. One thing I believe in is technology cannot achieve what they want to achieve without the business. And it's the same for business users also, the data scientists. They can't do what they want without the technology, because some of these requests which is coming from them, simple example I'll give you in terms of the packages they need, for example, right? Sometimes when it comes to us, we need to understand the importance of it and quickly turn it around. And at the same time, their deployment. So now recently we implemented proper deployment, release management for all our models. So nothing goes to production without going through the deployment, which we call it as release management. And there, I can understand, being 20 years in technology, for other applications, it's okay. We get that particular build after say 3 days or 4 days, or even a month planning can be done. But for analytics, they want something to the market very quickly. They wanted to give the scoring models to underwriters. They wanted to give the pricing models very quickly in terms of, change in inflation and things like that. So what we did was, I have to come up with a different plan of release management, saying that, okay, let's put, let's customize it. We won't treat every model as an application and go through the entire change management. We will go through a very, very thin line, only the minimal, right? The basics, what we need to do in terms of the guidelines. So we have to customize everything for our data scientists. And I think they saw that when I talked about bringing in guardrails and, all that, they were thinking, oh, this is going to be complicating what we do now. We are not going to have the flexibility, and we are not going to have that efficiency which we had earlier. But now they are seeing, why did I do it, and how come it has streamlined their process. And now it's become like more easy for me to go and tell them, this is what I'm planning to do for the next phase. So it took time, but I think now it's been 2 years, and without their help, I will not be able to do anything.
It's a really, really helpful perspective to hear. Do you have any tips for everybody listening in if they're just getting started working with the IT team?
Yes, so the tips is really for the IT team to understand the value of what you're doing, because everything you do, like data scientist, there is something going to be an output. It could take 1 week, it could take a month, or even it could take 6 months, which you are doing an R&D. But for them to understand the value you're going to bring in is going to be very, very important. And also explaining to them the flexibility you need, because analytics and the data science is all about the speed that comes with any platform. It could be any platform, right? So that is something which you need to explain to them. I'm fine, I'm here to support in terms of the governance or security or stability, what you want to bring in, even the operational cost. But at the same time, can I get this? So it's always two ways. So if you say, I'm going to be really supportive of your guardrails, but at the same time I'm expecting this from your team, I think it's going to be more good. And definitely I feel that collaboration is required. Like I said, otherwise it's very, very difficult to make this platform mature. And one thing what I'm seeing now is, after this journey, 2 years journey, the platform has matured, and now we both know how we work. I mean, each team knows how we work, and there are sometimes trade-offs, both sides, but we are able to take up that. The reason being, finally, we wanted to give the best to the output for our business, and for the business to earn the profits what they want. So finally, the objective is same, both for technology and the data scientist world. But I think where that sort of conflict comes in is, when objectives, there is no shared vision. So to get that shared vision, I think both teams need to talk. That's very important.
Absolutely. I see there's an anonymous question that came in, and I think it'd be helpful to clarify for people here. They said, how did the decision of using RStudio as the cloud service provider come to fruition? How did you overcome the question of why not AWS or Azure or Google kind of question? So could you clarify a little bit about the cloud you're
Yeah.
using?
Definitely. So I think I mean, I won't take the entire credit. Like I said, it's the users, it's the business users. I think I mentioned this to Kevin some time back. They saw the flexibility that comes with our studio. When I say flexibility, it's not like just, without any guardrails going and using it. They know that the entire governance is there. But what they saw it is like the IDE now after the Workbench, we have the launcher, so which they felt that it's one of the good functionality that came out, because you have Python, Jupyter Notebook, anything they can launch, and also package management. And the other thing is the easy of like they going and developing something and then publishing it to Shiny. So the property model which I'm talking about is entirely built on Shiny. And like past 2 years, we have not had any major failures in terms of the platform, even though the users are expanding, and we have it on-prem with servers. Still the business is able to do what they wanted to do, the data scientists. So that's one of the reason, their inputs convinced even our architecture to think that we cannot lose our studio. And another advantage is the R Studio completely, the way it can be installed, like how we are doing now. An IDE now, if we want to copy the image and set it up, we also have very good scenarios. We have got the complete IDE set up within 2-3 days. So that is something which is going to be helpful even when we go in cloud. It's going to be more placed on containers, but if we wanted to do something very quickly, it can be launched. So that is something, it was useful for us to convince. Yes, there was a debate about even using other competitive platform, and also we had Azure and all that, but finally our studio won the case.
And I know this is an anonymous question, so I'm just guessing as the follow-up, but just to clarify, so you took the RStudio team environment and installed it in the cloud provider of your choice, though?
Yes, that's right. It's going to be on containers, and we have still not decided the entire infrastructure architecture. It's ongoing now, but we have decided that our studio is going to be one of our strategic solutions.
Awesome. I see Robert just asked a question. He said he's eating lunch, so I will ask. What is the structure of your IT team, if you could share? Who specifically are you collaborating with on projects?
So, technology team is quite, IT team is quite huge. Now I am part of DIA, with Data and Analytics Department, but I used to work for Global Technology till March this year. Since we are almost, all the time we are involved with pricing and analytics team, and I'm part of data science. Our department has been moved. But IT, when I was working in global technology, and even now, which we are integrating, all our applications, and also like security, governance, everything, still I have to be, liaising with the technology team. So in technology team, since I said it's a huge organization, we have infrastructure support separately. Under infrastructure, we have Unix, Wintel teams separate, and we have network team separate, storage team separate, and then we have DBA team separate. So these are all the technology teams who I have to deal with. And then my team comes with tech lead, application manager, and the support team. So that's how it is structured. So when I say technology, it is starting from procurement, where we deal with, getting the licenses. It's the entire team that I'm talking about when I say technology.
Great, thank you. And then just a reminder to everyone, if you joined a little bit later, you can also ask questions anonymously through Slido, and Hannah will share that again in the chat right now too. I realized for Zoom, the chat doesn't show up. That happened previously when you jump on. But another question was, it sounds like you have a lot of users, and with 200 users, I think that's what you said. How do
Yes.
you manage the governance of that?
Okay, so when we did the due diligence also, there were already some good things happening, like the onboarding of users was not just the license was given, they were put in different AD groups. So that helped us. So there will be some users who just wanted to use only IDE and not publish any content to the Connect. Like say they don't build anything in Shiny. So they were like put into different AD groups. So that was there. But one thing what it was lacking is we didn't know who were the users onboarding. And even if there is a leaver, we didn't know that person has left and we need to revoke their access completely so that we could take the license back. So the governance was thought about, okay, what can we do in terms of each step? So first is the license. How do you get them like on board? And then how do you keep an audit trail of when are they leaving? What are they doing? And say there will be some users, they get the license, but unfortunately they are not able to use the application for say 5 months, 6 months. So we started putting a timeline around it. If they don't use the platform for 6 months, we wanted to get in touch with them and find out whether they need the license. Otherwise, we take the license out of them. So everything has been put in terms of onboarding. And in terms of governance, like I said, we have segregated the environments now. So we have the development and the production separate. So in development also we have staging and non-prod. So when they are developing the models, when they are going to publish it, they need to come through again a ticket, which comes to us, to my team. And then we go through it. What are they deploying and what is the model and which is the data sources, and have they used any sort of hard code passwords, because those are all the things we have filtered now. And there is also a validation framework which we are using in terms of validating, okay, what's happening? Are they using licensed libraries? Are they using the proper packages? Packages is one good thing, because we have again it only can go through my team. So any packages that is requested, my team will be installing them. And now if we need to say download it from some website, we need to whitelist it. That is a separate team. We need to send the request for whitelisting and I need to approve it. Otherwise, all our packages come from MRAN, the Microsoft RAN, and that's how we are managing the governance for new users.
That's really interesting that you can look to see, oh, you haven't used this in 6 months. What is the problem here? How can
Yes.
we help also?
Yes.
So I'm curious, is there like a program in place for people that in that position, like to then help them learn or understand why they're not getting value?
Yes, so there is even the business departments have started doing it, mainly the data scientists and the pricing model actuaries. We call actuaries are the ones who are really using this platform, apart from the data scientists, the machine learning engineers. So what they have is they have started their own R training because they when they get in, they are doing it. And we have helped them with some sort of wiki, like putting all our R resources together. Like even because they need to know when I onboard, whom should I go for request and what happens after that. And if I want to connect to a data source, how will I do it? Because that also my team has to help them. So we have put everything together and we have given it for the business users as well. And also we have kept it in our platform so that they can see that. So that sort of knowledge, sharing was required. So there is quite enough support, and I think there is a lot of investment that is being done for actuaries, because that's why you see 250 users now. They all are, they know they are experts now. So we are helping wherever we have to.
I see, Frank, you had a follow-up question. Do you want to jump in?
I would love to.
Hi,
You
Frank.
mentioned that you approve the packages, right? The packages that get used.
Yeah. Yeah.
The thought that popped into my mind, and perhaps I'm the only one that does this, but if I'm trying to solve a problem, I will Google, I will find a potential solution, install the package, try it. It didn't work. Find something else, try another package, right? Until you find the one that works for your problem in the moment. It might not be the most efficient. So what is that like? Do you approve everything in CRAN, and then stuff that's like randomly on GitHub that might not be in CRAN, you have to approve
There is no hard rule that they have to use only the packages from Imran. If they choose from some other website, like say when you Google and you find it, it comes for whitelisting, and this was implemented recently. So we need to send out the request to make it whitelisting so that we can use that link to download the package. But one step, what is in terms of governance is it goes through my approval. So I need to ask several questions. One thing I have to make sure is there is no vulnerabilities that we are exposing, right? So if that is the case, and mostly I will say that we have not come across any time that the users have requested something and we are not able to get that for them. Any website it could be, we see there is, it is a proper website and it has its, we know that it's not going to cause us any problems, then we are happy to go ahead with that.
Do you have an SLA for how fast?
No, I mean, to be honest, it's a very small team because like I said, always the operational cost is also something we wanted to keep it within. So it's a very small team I hold. But we go by, the business priority. If they say something, no, it's very, very critical because the next week I need to release this for, for the scoring or for underwriters, then we try to give that as a priority. So that's how we keep. And now, for past year, we are using Kanban board, where we keep all our tasks, everything, including installation of packages, and it could be anything related to governance and security. We are following agile model there, and we pull out the tasks based on the priorities. And we know who's working on that. If doesn't come back, why it's not coming back. So I think in terms of project management also, we have picked up this agile way of doing it. So it's very quick.
Very sensible. Thank you.
Yeah, no problems. Thanks.
It seems like a lot of people really like that question, Frank. So it might be helpful to dive a little bit deeper into that one too. Was there a time where the data scientists had to explain like the importance of these packages and what these packages really mean to the IT team who maybe didn't yet know what they were or the value of them?
Yes, sometimes they need to, because they could be asking it from some other websites outside. So sometimes, yes, they need to explain why. It could be very, very useful for them in terms of some functions. And like I said, this is one of the main platforms for our actuaries as well as the data scientists. So we can't say, just bluntly no to it. So we also put in time to see, is there anything that we could do about it? Is there an alternative? If it is not there, then I'm happy to approve the whitelisting. And also there is something else we have discussed also. In case we wanted that website to be used to install a package, but we are thinking that we are not very sure whether that has any sort of risks that it is posing, then what we do is we do the installation of the package, then again we remove it from whitelisting so that no one is using it further. So that's how we are trying to do. But like I said, many times, I think I can say 99% it has gone through without any issues.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I see, Melissa, you had a question in the Zoom chat. Do you want to jump in?
Yeah, sure. I'm wondering how you've handled the conversation with IT, if you have, about open source technology and the risks that might pose to company security. Have you ever run into that? And really, you or anyone on the call, how did you approach that?
Actually, definitely, if anyone wants to jump in, I will also love to hear. For AXA XL, open source was allowed earlier, but then it started becoming very strict that we are not supposed to be downloading anything. That's why about all this whitelisting, we can't use it without making it approved by all the info security group as well. So after my approval, it goes through info security. They have to approve, then only it goes through. So that was put in. But earlier they had to go to open source and they can download it. But now it's very, very strict. But one thing I wanted to tell is, I'm not very familiar with all the packages, but I can tell you that there is around 1,000 packages that is getting used currently now. So I'm thinking that most of those packages are available in MRAN, Microsoft RAN. So I think most of the functionality which our users are using, I think it's coming from validated package list. So that way we didn't end up going through it. And there has been times also our was downloaded from open source. So that was also happening. Python also was similar. But now for past year and a half, there is no way they can do that. It has to be going through a proper governance, and then only they can download it. It's not only my team restricting it, it's also the infrastructure team restricting it.
Thank you. I see a
Really
few
helpful.
other.
Can I jump in, Rachel?
Yeah, sure, Manju.
Thanks. So I'm really surprised that scientists get guardrailed in that sense, like, because you do need like a free mind to be able to bring about solutions. And the interesting thing is basically open source is being used in other places where like with the JavaScript and like the front end, where there's a lot of vulnerability, and that is the actual space where which needs to be guardrail. Yeah, and basically I think that's been like the roadblock for me as a data scientist in every corporation. Trying to bring
Mhm.
solutions to the forefront, yet I feel inhibited, and I feel I am there's roadblocks there.
Yeah, so Manju, the whole thing, right? See, it's again, like I said in the start, it's looking at both ways, right? So I agree to you definitely, because you lose that sort of, the flexibility to get what you want to do as a data scientist. But the whole thing is, it's not, like I said, a very hard rule that nothing should be got from open source or nothing can be installed. We also have a process of, finding alternatives. Otherwise, there is also a process called going through, complete security process, the toll gate, and then, explaining why do we need this. And then, we have something called as a RAM process. And if that is being set, a year is set on it, like say expiry date is set on it, every year it will be reviewed. And if we have already got an alternative, they'll close that. Otherwise, they will continue using it. So because not only our platform, I manage another application which is for risk maps, and that there we had Python, which we have to go into the next version. But their utilities are still having in the old version of Python, so we have got some, buy-in there from security. So it's always, the business explaining to us why, what is the need for it, and then we becoming, like almost intermediate in this process, and we going and putting that forward for security and getting the approval. So there are we have like channels which we can use in terms of when such situation happens. And the other thing what I wanted to say is, see, the risks organizations are having is huge. Coming from insurance organization, if something goes wrong, even one data gets leaked, the amount of penalty that the organization has to pay is very huge, which we can't even quantify how much is that. So that's the risk we hold, and the data privacy is like really the topmost priority for us. And we have to ensure that for different applications. So this is one of the applications, but there is quite a lot, and the governance is required. Otherwise, it will be too hard after a few years, because we won't even know from where the packages have been downloaded and what each packages is bringing the vulnerability, and it becomes very, very difficult to manage.
It's not so much about the packages. I mean, um, it's open source is a mindset. It's a
Yeah,
mindset more so than
yeah,
like a process, right? And
yeah,
when we are trying to do the best for the organization, that flexibility and that alignment needs to happen, so
yeah.
that we can bring about the perfect solutions for the organization. And it's the trust in people that ultimately matters. And I have seen a lot of data has got breached because of like whatever reasons, outsourcing or whatever. And
Mhm.
yeah, so but the reality is it's a mindset that needs to be nurtured within corporations.
No, definitely. I mean, I understand where you come from. Yes, it has to be nurtured, but I think it's a balance. And if we can achieve that balance, it's good for both sides, right? See, something like you said, if everyone is being bit conscious what they are exactly doing, am I every step I do, if I'm being conscious that no, I'm not going to pose a risk, then it's fine. It's absolutely fine. But when it comes to the reality and everyone doing their jobs, sometimes it's because of the time pressure or the timelines pressure also, there are chances that they might forget to check something. And even though I'm working in technology all these years, I am still not an expert of security. So that's why we sometimes go to our security advisors to find out whether is this open source okay and whether can we allow it. And that's why they keep one more approval after me, that the info security has to approve it. So I think it's again, like I said, it's a balance. There should be, if you really need something, there should not be a complete blunt no. There should be channels to help you. So if organizations could do that, I think it's really nurturing both mindsets, right? One side, we making sure, we are aligning to all our security. At the same time, we are also giving the flexibility for the data scientists.
Absolutely. I love that. So what's the channels that you recommend for teams to get support, or what companies need to create for teams to get support when they're kind of in this roadblock space?
Definitely the waiver, right? So we say something is very, very important for data scientists, and they don't get it, say, from the reputed or known sites. They wanted to get something. I will say, please listen to the data scientist, and there should be a group who's sitting and reviewing that, right? So they can put a waiver there. It can be approved by their own management, say from who's requesting it, the data science managers or their leadership can look into it and say, yes, it is needed because this person is going to create this business value and we can't just say no to it. So let's put this form and fill out the form, submit it, let the security review it or technology review it, and they can give you a waiver. And you can put a time limit on that. If you don't want to give it, say, for 5 years, that's fine. Every year you can review it and you can see if there is no vulnerabilities posed, then leave it to go. So I think I think about this, right? When a person is requesting for something, finally it is a business value he or she is bringing to the company. So they need to listen and they have to give them what is the other alternative, right? Okay, if we can't download from this, or we can download, but can you please fill out this form, and can you please get approval from your own management? So something like that, it is there for every organization. I think it definitely will achieve a balance.
Mythili, I have a statement.
Yeah.
This is my observation. So it is not so much about the packages.
Yeah, it could be anything. Yeah.
No, within corporations, it is not so much about the packages. It is
Mm.
more so about getting access to the sources, and it is more so about the quality. And that's where the roadblocks are currently. Rather than the packages themselves. You see that you have to
Yeah.
understand where the problems lie within organizations.
So when you say access, Manju, are you talking about data sources?
Yes, the data
Okay,
sources
so
themselves, like how they are being aligned and where they are within, like which
yeah.
cloud and things like that. That's the actual, those are the actual issues which need to be addressed.
Again, I think it's the maturity of the technology, right? Because say, okay, I can give you an example, right? Say a data source is being accessed all the years using, say, a SQL Server ID, which you got it created, okay? You're accessing a SQL Server and they have given you an ID for your name, okay? You have been using all that for many years and you have been sharing your ID and password even with other of your peers. It poses a risk, because the reason is the data that might be sitting in that data source could be confidential, or it could be even, very much, it shouldn't be shared. It should be secured, right? But if it is given to you and your name is registered, it's fine. Only Manju is accessing it. But say you are sharing that ID and password with someone else, right? It is a risk. So what happens in those scenarios is the organization comes out with their policy. Okay, so you wanted to access the data, that's fine, but we'll create a service account, and that password will not be given to you. It will be in CyberArk or something where the rotation of passwords happen, and every 60 days it gets renewed. So that's what I'm saying. For every, instead of just telling to you, no, you can't access that, they have to come out with an idea of how can it be accessed with governance. So that's where, the governance plays a bigger role in entire, technology world.
I love this discussion. I want to make sure we get to a lot of the other questions that are here too. No, but one quick follow-up question from that was, do you have separate dev and prod environments?
Yes, we do. So we have dev, prod, and also we have staging environments, because some of the things that our team like wanted to test, say for example, we were like moving to Workbench last year. So we wanted to install everything. We wanted to try out. We use one environment where we don't have data scientists at all. So we have such an environment, and also we have like for the users to try out anything in terms of their trial, like the lower environment. Once everything is ready, that's where they submit the ticket. Okay, everything is done, and I have my data sources, and I have my algorithm ready, and now I need to deploy this or publish this content. Then it goes through the quickest way, right? That's what I explained. We have customized it because, say, there is a dashboard which someone has built it for within 2 days, and it has to be immediately going to production, and we see it's a very simple dashboard. Not many external data sources are there, and there is no sort of any security that we need to validate. Then what we do is we give an SLA of even 1 to 3 hours. It will be published in the production. But say if it is a model which they also have built it for, say, 6 months, 3 months, or 9 months, and it has got quite a lot of data sources, and also there is some hard-coded password sitting in the code, then that goes through its, little bit of validation. Again, I'm not talking about it'll take a week. Again, there the SLA is 2 to 3 days.
Thank you. It's very helpful. An anonymous question from earlier was, how far out into the future do technology teams at your org have to think about when it comes to adopting new technology?
We have to think about a little bit. I mean, I can say, yes, we all have to think about it. It's not only my organization, but at the same time, we also have legacy quite a lot. The reason being, even new technologies come in, it's not easy for us to shift because of the expansion that happened over the days. So it's been, not that easy for us to think about a new technology and immediately adopt that. And again, now the procurement process, again, we need to go through. We can conduct POCs, we can conduct MVP, and if it is all fine, then we can submit the proposal. But again, there we are talking about budget. So we need a business sponsor who's supporting it. And what is the reason that we are shifting to a new technology? There should be a proper business case with both tangible and intangible benefits. Then only we can move.
Thank you.
Cheers.
I just realized on that dev test prod environment question, I see Javier, you had a related question. Do you want to jump in?
Hey,
I can. Yep,
thanks,
there you
Rachel.
are.
I've loved this conversation. It's been awesome. So,
Thank you.
and some of my, like, some of the question that I asked, I think was already discussed and answered. But let's say I'm a data scientist at your company, and I have pretty much built an entire, ETL pipeline, and like a Shiny app. Like, I've built everything,
Okay.
but your team owns the deployment of this tool to production.
Yes, that's right.
Let's say I have to make an update, which could take me 30 seconds to do. So I submit the commit, or, it's on GitHub or GitLab, and I reach out to you.
Yes.
Do the data scientists at your company have the ability to push that change to prod themselves, or do they still need to file a Jira ticket and wait up to 2 weeks for this? Okay, so they have the ability to
Yeah. So no,
directly. Yeah.
definitely no waiting time of 2 weeks. And there is also, we wanted to give them the access from like automated checkout from GitHub and going into production. That is also possible. And since we are moving into cloud, the DevOps is going to get involved, and it's going to be all automated, the CI/CD pipeline. So then it becomes very quick. But now on-prem also, that's what I said. The maximum we are taking is only 2 to 3 days. Otherwise, it's like, say, 2 hours or 3 hours, even 1 hour. Say there is a change, like you explained to us that it has to be done. Maybe instead of 30 seconds, it's going to take an hour. That's all. So it's not a major difference, but we also have a checkout process from GitHub, which is going to be very automated.
Has this been defined in your internal like SOC 2 controls or SOX controls? Do you have this mechanism defined in your internal documentation?
So for us, because like I said, since I am owning pricing and analytics platform, I have customized this release process little bit different. What our information security calls out is, you definitely need to have non-production and production. You can't do your development in production. Please do it and then go through release management. We have a change request that we need to submit. But
Right.
what I have done is, since it is data scientists and pricing actuaries, they can't wait for every change, the change request to be raised and going through the entire process. If I have an auditing mechanism that I can document it, then I have, the flexibility to customize it. That's why I have done it that way. So if it is a small change, no implications, and it can go within 1 hour, we send it within 1 hour. They need not go through the entire change request process that we do for all the other applications.
Okay, I may reach out to you on LinkedIn just
Definitely.
to continue this conversation there, if you don't mind.
No, definitely. I'm happy to help. I told this to Rachel. I mean, anything that could be a takeaway from this meeting, please feel free to reach out to me. Whatever information I can share with you guys, definitely I will love to do it.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
No problem.
And I just put Mythili's LinkedIn in there because it looks like the wrong LinkedIn got linked on the data science hangout page. That push should be going up in a few minutes, but just in case there's a delay there, we'll put it into the chat.
Sure.
Trevor, I see you had a question you just put into the chat, I think was a follow-up on the open source evaluation process. You want to jump in?
Yeah. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Oh, this is really interesting. Very, very nice conversation we're having. I don't know if I could work in your environment.
Yeah, you are welcome, Trevor.
Because data science is a creative process sometimes, and you're trying to find a package that meets your needs at the moment. And if each time I want to try a new package, it may take me 2 to 3 days. That's creating a bottleneck that is really preventing us from being efficient. So it's more a comment than a question. But the real question is around, so given that open source packages can be unique and many variations, how do you go about guaranteeing 2 to 3 days? Because a package may be simple with one function, or you could have a package with several functions. What are you looking for when you're looking at the packages, and how do you guarantee, given your small team as you describe, the ability to meet your SLA of really 2 to 3 days?
It's a very good question. It is not easy. Like I said, it's a small team. But one thing what we have done is, there is a validation framework we have done, like scripting on the server side, which will go through very quickly in terms of your validation of your libraries and packages. And then we have there is a scanning team which does the scanning for hard-coded passwords or anything. So it is I will say everything is not manual. There is we have to come up. See, that is the maturity I'm talking about when I started the discussions. Everything like governance, security, everything has to be done manual. It's going to take its own time. It's like the testing times, right? When you automate your testing, it's very quick. So similar things for governance also. If you can make anything automated in terms of validating them, then any team can turn around, say, deployment to production within few days. But you have to come out with those ideas. So that's why I keep saying this is like a journey. We have taken up the journey like last year, but still we are working on it. And the next big thing for coming for us is the NFS storage cleanup. There is also cleanup going on parallelly as we do all these things. But I always motivate the team to come up with some sort of automation in terms of the scripting so that we can make this validation very quickly.
Yeah. So follow-up question. So your data science teams or teams that you work with, what is their
Yes.
job satisfaction like? I mean, what are
actually,
what's their
that's a good
response?
question. I can't just claim here that, oh, they are all very happy that I'm doing this sort of, work. But, one thing, like I said, right, they are collaborating a lot compared to, when I approached them and I talked about governance. So I feel that now they are able to understand it's both ways, because tomorrow when we are moving into cloud, all the work that I have been doing for this past 2 years is going to be very helpful, because we did an inventory of completely all the applications and also the data sources, what they are connected to. And if tomorrow, if we go to them and we could have asked all this detail, maybe there is, a chance that they won't even know. And they will be saying they are going to take few weeks to find it out. So there is both ways, right? I have made their life bit easier with all this inventory and the governance which I have put forward. And now, since the deployment is done through release management, we also having a tracker for that. So we know the models, when it is developed, when it is changed, which dates it's been changed, and it's going through the ticket to get it to production. So all this data that is getting gathered with the governance and security is going to help them. So I think they should be happy. That is my assumption. But yeah, maybe I have to take a 360 feedback and find out.
I think it's also really helpful for everyone to understand that this came as a request from the business to be able to use our studio, and by you going through that process and putting the governance around it, it allowed them to be able to use the tool that they wanted to, instead of being forced into something else too.
Yes,
so
that's right.
really
But I think it's they have been very collaborative. Otherwise, I could have not done this. Nothing I could have done, because when we sent out the inventory the first time, they came up with their responses very quickly. What exactly they are looking forward for the technology to do for them, and also giving the information what they had. So I think it has been quite helpful from their side.
Absolutely. I see there was a Slido question I missed a little bit earlier that was, is digital transformation still a word that's used as an org-wide initiative? If not, what are the new org-wide initiatives to future-proof your business?
I mean, digital transformation is it's becoming a buzzword across the industry. So not everything we do is called digital transformation. Sometimes, it is done, but without even naming it as digital transformation. But there are also teams where we have digital transformation teams on the data side. So there are teams by that name, but I won't call it as every initiative we pick up, it's called as digital transformation. There is so much that's going on without it getting tagged under digital.
Great, thank you. I did just have a question about your environment, if I get to ask one with a few minutes left. So I know you said you have both R and Python users now. And so are both sets of users in the same environment now, or do you also manage different tools for each?
No, they are all in the same environment. And even before the Workbench, there was some very little usage of Python. That time they had a server where they were using it. But now after this, we don't have separate environments. We have our IDE as one of the main thing, because Workbench, we purchased it last year. So after that, I think it's only our platform that's getting used now. But there are also, in other departments, there are other competitor platforms, but we have to see when we move to cloud, what is getting, segregated. R is going to be there. Definitely our studio is going to be there. But along with that, what other, platforms are going to be also given to the community, we are not very sure of.
And is there, so I know you did the survey to figure out how people are using certain tools, but if there's other future languages or things that people want to use, how do they start to introduce that?
It has to go through the POC process. And earlier on, I mean, I'm talking about like, because now it's my 13th year in the organization, but before that, we used to have like anything you wanted to try, you can try and then go and, put that as a business case and get it. But now we need to go through the procurement just to make sure even the POC departments, I mean, they know that they have to go through procurement. They have to reach out to the vendor, get the product and try it. And if we like it, then go with it. So if they wanted new languages or anything, or they want new platform, it has to go through the procurement process. And like I said, it also has to be justified. Why are we moving into new technology and the benefits of it?
Awesome. I don't see any other questions, but I just want to say thank you so much, Mythili, for
My
joining
pleasure.
us. It was so helpful to hear your perspective and experience here.
No,
Really
thank you
appreciate
very
it.
much. Thank you very much for the RStudio team as well, because I think throughout this journey, I'm talking about, I don't know how many times I've asked my team to reach out to RStudio, and especially Kevin, and say that, oh, this is very much urgent for us. Can you please help us? So I should really thank even RStudio team for that. And yeah, I look forward to be, working long time in this. Let's see how that goes.
That's awesome. You just reminded me, I wanted to say this as well. If anybody is ever curious if your team is using RStudio's products, or if you want to be connected with your RStudio account manager, I can't believe how many times that there will be teams who reach out who just don't know that their colleagues are using our tools yet. Feel free to reach out to me in like the least salesy way possible. Like, can just let you know. I'll put my LinkedIn on here too if you ever just want to ask and are curious. But thank you all so much for joining today and for all the great questions too. We will see you back hopefully next week. We also have an awesome meetup next Tuesday at 12 Eastern time with Julia Silgi and Isabel Zimmerman on using or ML ops with Vetiver in R and Python. So I am also just going to put the short link real quick to that meetup if you want to just add it to your calendar too. Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of the day.
Bye.
Bye.